you know what it feels like to watch a 9-year-old act like she's the last adult standing in her family? That question slammed into me the moment I stepped into the quiet cafe on a stormy afternoon, just looking for shelter, not salvation. But what I found wasn't just coffee and rain-soaked silence. I found her, a little girl with hands too small for the weight she carried, brewing coffee like a seasoned barista and speaking like someone who'd already buried too much innocence. Her name was Lily. She didn't flinch when she told me her dad was dead. She didn't cry when she said her mom had cancer. She just asked me with eyes sharp as glass, "Do you know how to save someone you love more than life?" And right then I realized I'd walked into something much bigger than a cafe. If you stay with me just a few more moments, I promise you'll witness something truly unexpected. Not just a twist in a story, but a transformation so deep, it might just change how you see the world. Because sometimes all it takes is one storm, one cup of coffee, and one child who refuses to give up to rewrite the fate of a broken man. "I'm sorry, sir. It's not much, but it's hot. I made it just the way you like it." Daniel Whitman blinked, stunned. A small hand extended a steaming cup of coffee to him. Behind the counter stood a girl no taller than his desk at headquarters, wearing an oversized brown apron and speaking with the calm precision of someone far older than her years. He looked around. The wooden walls of Lily's cafe creaked softly as the rain pounded the windows. The place smelled of freshly ground beans and wet pavement. It was the most modest establishment he had ever set foot in, an accidental refuge after his Bentley blue attire just blocks away. "How do you know how I like my coffee?" he asked, cautiously taking the cup. The girl didn't hesitate. "You look like someone who drinks it black. No sugar. Just like my dad. He used to say that important men don't have time for sweetness." Daniel didn't answer. He just stared at the girl, at the cup, at the flickering light bulb above them. Something about her presence disarmed him in a way boardrooms never could. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily. Lily Bennett. And where are your parents?" Lily didn't flinch. "My dad died 6 months ago. My mom's at St. Grace Memorial Hospital. She has cancer." Daniel felt something shift in his chest. "I run the cafe now. People need coffee, and we need food," Lily said with a smile that fought against her trembling lips. He sat down without knowing why. He sipped the coffee. It was perfect, strong, ground fresh, served hot. There was even a warmth to it that the finest hotel blends never had. "You made this?" he asked. "From scratch?" "I grind the beans. Heat the cups first. Makes a difference." Daniel studied her. The way she wiped the counter, the way her small hands moved with such focus, she had the grace of a seasoned barista and the poise of a woman carrying weight no child ever should. "My dad taught me how to run the place before he died. My mom used to work at the textile factory, but after his funeral, she got sick. 3 months ago, we found out it was cancer, the aggressive kind." Lily pulled out a battered notebook from under the counter and opened it for him. "Yesterday, we sold 47 euros. Today, just 23. The rain." Daniel glanced at the handwriting. Each transaction was logged with sharp accuracy. Rent, coffee beans, sugar, electricity, medication. Every penny counted. "And what about school?" he asked. "I go when I can. But this cafe, this is our only chance. If I don't keep it open, we lose everything." There was no pity in her voice, no tears, only grit. At that moment, an elderly woman pushed through the cafe door, rainwater dripping from her coat. Her name was Mrs. Rosa, the neighbor. She greeted Lily, asked if she'd eaten, and then eyed Daniel with suspicion. "We don't usually get customers like him," she said under her breath. Daniel stood. "Daniel Whitman," he introduced. "I didn't mean to intrude." Mrs. Rosa's face softened slightly. "That girl," she said, glancing at Lily, "is a miracle in a child's body. But she shouldn't have to carry all this." "She's 9, Rosa whispered. 9. If her mother doesn't make it, she'll end up in the system." Lily returned to the table carrying another cup of coffee for Daniel. "Can I ask you something?" she said quietly. He nodded. "You seem like someone who fixes problems. Important problems. I need to know, how do you save someone you love more than your own life?" Daniel froze. No quarterly report, no profit loss spreadsheet, no boardroom confrontation had ever hit him like this. "What exactly do you mean?" he asked, his voice dry. Lily disappeared behind the counter and returned with a file folder. She laid it out on the table with a precision that made his chest tighten. "These are the hospital bills. So far, we've paid almost $22,000. We need around $50,000 more. That's for chemo and meds. The doctors are kind, but kind doesn't pay for medicine." Daniel turned the pages. St. Grace Memorial, chemotherapy protocols, medication lists, experimental treatments. To him, these numbers were loose change, but to Lily, they were Everest. "Does your mom know you're keeping track of this?" "She doesn't know I can read the numbers," Lily said with a small shrug. "But my dad taught me how to balance books. He said, 'Lily, numbers don't lie.'" She looked up at him. "I wrote letters, you know, to churches, to newspapers, even to companies asking for help." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What kind of companies?" Lily bit her lip. "I sent one to Whitman Technologies 2 months ago. A scholarship request. Just something to help us stay afloat. I got a reply saying we didn't meet the requirements." Daniel's hands tensed. He remembered that letter. He had signed the rejection. That same bold looping L. Bennett. He hadn't even read the full request, just another plea among hundreds during a philanthropic review meeting. Lily continued, "I don't really know what I'm asking you for. Maybe just advice, maybe hope. But I've tried everything else." Daniel said nothing. He stared into his cup. The taste was still on his tongue, bitter, bold, honest. "Can I meet your mother?" he finally asked. "You can. Tomorrow after visiting hours. She'd like to meet someone who drinks coffee like my dad did." Daniel glanced at his watch. 2 hours had passed. 2 hours in the smallest cafe in the city, talking to a child who ran it with more composure than most executives he'd hired. And for the first time in years, he wasn't in a hurry. He looked Lily in the eye and said, "Tomorrow I'll be back, and I'll bring someone who can really help." Her eyes lit up with cautious hope. "Promise?" He nodded. "I promise." But deep down, Daniel knew he wasn't just there to help her. She was already helping him. We'll continue in the next part, where a single visit to the hospital changes more than one life forever. But first, do you believe it's possible for a child to change the heart of a billionaire? Have you ever had someone unexpectedly shift your perspective on life? If this story touched you even a little, please tap the like button and share it with someone who believes in second chances. The next afternoon, Daniel Whitman stood in front of St. Grace Memorial Hospital holding a single cup of coffee. Black, no sugar, hot. He'd bought it from Lily's cafe that morning, not because he needed caffeine, but because it had become a symbol of her strength, of his promise. His heart pounded in his chest as he stepped through the glass doors. He wasn't used to hospitals, at least not ones without private wings assistants coordinating everything and lawyers handling the paperwork. This one smelled like antiseptic and resignation. But what hit him harder was the sight of Rachel Bennett lying in bed, her skin-pale hair thinned, yet her eyes unmistakably sharp. The same look Lily carried when she spoke about survival, as if it were just another line in her budget notebook. "You must be the man my daughter keeps talking about," Rachel said softly as he approached. "The one who drinks bitter coffee like her father." Daniel offered a half smile. "Guilty." She studied him. "And what brings a man like you to a place like this?" "Your daughter," he said simply. "She reminds me what matters." Rachel's voice caught, but she quickly covered it with a smile. "She always did talk like someone much older than her age. I worry sometimes that she's forgotten how to be a child." "That little girl is holding the world on her shoulders," Daniel replied. "And not once did she ask for sympathy." Rachel's face hardened slightly, because she knows sympathy doesn't buy medicine. There was a knock at the door. Dr. James Carter entered, his expression serious but warm. Daniel stood to greet his old friend. "I've reviewed the files," the doctor began. "It's advanced but not hopeless. There's an experimental treatment only available in Zurich. It has had remarkable results in patients like Rachel." "Cost?" Rachel asked, immediately already bracing herself. $200,000, James said without hesitation. "Travel, housing, full course of treatment." Rachel let out a slow, broken breath. "That may as well be $2 million. I'll cover it," Daniel said. The words came faster than he'd anticipated. Rachel blinked. I can't let you do that." "You're not letting me," he replied gently. "I'm choosing to. Because Lily deserves her mother, and because I made her a promise. Rachel shook her head. No one gives something for nothing, Mr. Whitman. I'm not asking for anything in return, Daniel said, though part of him wasn't so sure anymore. Except maybe the chance to stay involved, to help, to keep showing up. Rachel narrowed her eyes. You mean, like family? Daniel hesitated. The weight of that word hit harder than expected. She called me an angel, he whispered. But I think she might be mine. There was silence in the room. Then Rachel, her voice cracking, asked, You really think this can save me? James spoke up again. We can't promise, but this gives you a chance, a real one. Rachel turned her head to the window. Her reflection stared back at her fragile fading. Then I want a contract, she said, surprising both men. A what? Daniel asked, unsure he'd heard correctly. I want everything in writing, she said firmly. Not because I don't trust you, but because I want Lily to know that this wasn't charity, that her mother stood up and signed her life back into her hands. Daniel smiled. I'll have my lawyer draft it tonight. That night back at Lily's cafe, Daniel stayed late. Lily sat across from him with a pencil tucked behind her ear, scribbling math problems while munching on leftover muffins. You saw her, she asked, eyes glowing with hope. I did, and she's stronger than I imagined. Like you. Lily smiled proudly. That means the world to me. Daniel hesitated. Then he pulled something from his briefcase. A letter creased, stained, marked declined. Her application, the one he had unknowingly rejected. He handed it to her. I need to confess something. Lily's brow furrowed as she read. This is your signature, she said quietly. He nodded. I turned it down, without even reading it. I'm sorry. Lily looked at the letter for a long time, then folded it carefully and set it aside. I forgive you, she whispered, because you came back. A storm clapped in the distance. Rain started again, tapping softly on the windows, just like the day they met. The next morning, Daniel returned with his lawyer. The contract was short and simple. Rachel read it twice before signing. By the following week, Rachel Bennett was on a plane to Zurich with Dr. Carter by her side. Daniel remained in Portland, and every day for the next 3 months, he visited Lily, helped her with homework, taught her French phrases, made coffee, mopped floors. He stopped checking the stock market. He started checking Lily's spelling quizzes. The baristas down the street started noticing their customers weren't coming back. Not since Lily's cafe had become more than a cafe. It was becoming a home. But Rachel's condition was still a question mark. The treatment wasn't guaranteed. And Daniel, though he tried to appear calm, lay awake at night, staring at his ceiling, wondering if he had given Lily hope only to watch it break. He wasn't sure what scared him more, losing Rachel, or losing the version of himself he had only just begun to know. We'll continue in the next part, where a single phone call and an unexpected visitor will change everything once again. And you believe it's possible to find a new family in the most unexpected places? If this story moved you, please take a moment to like and share. Your support helps stories like this one reach others who need it. It had been 89 days since Rachel Bennett left for Zurich. 89 days of rain and sunshine, of hope and uncertainty, of laughter, shared over spilled coffee and math homework scribbled on napkins. Lily had circled the date on the calendar in red marker, Tuesday, Mom comes home. Daniel paced by the front window of Lily's cafe, checking his watch every 2 minutes. He tried to look calm for Lily's sake, but the truth was his hands hadn't stopped trembling since morning. Today wasn't just about Rachel's return. Today was about whether the three of them would finally officially become something more than coincidence. At exactly 3:14 p.m., a black sedan pulled up. The door opened, and there she was. Rachel stepped out slowly, cautiously, her frame thinner, her face softer. But her smile was alive. Mom, Lily cried, bursting through the door. Rachel dropped her bag and opened her arms just in time to catch her daughter in a rush of warmth and tears. Oh, sweetheart, she whispered. I told you I'd come back. Daniel stayed back quiet, watching mother and daughter cling to each other. But when Rachel looked up at him, her smile widened. You kept your promise, she said. You kept breathing, he replied. Later that night, after the last customer left, Rachel ran her hands along the freshly polished counter. She hadn't seen the renovations until now. New chairs, clean tiles, the espresso machine gleaming under warm lights. But somehow Daniel had kept the soul of the place intact. "You didn't change it," she said. "I just made it a little stronger," he answered. "Like you." They sat together at the same table as always. Lily appeared with 3 mugs and set them down carefully, just the way Daniel had taught her. "Mom, Dad, Daniel," she blushed. "Can we talk about something?" Daniel raised an eyebrow, smiling. "Of course." "Well," she said slowly, "today at school, we were asked to write about our families. And I said I live with the 2 bravest people I've ever met. My mom, who came back from the edge of life, and a man who used to be a stranger, but became everything." Rachel reached across and squeezed her daughter's hand. "He became what to you, my home," Lily whispered. Daniel's chest tightened. It wasn't the word he expected, but it was the word he needed. "I want to be adopted," Lily said suddenly. "Officially, I want to be Lily Bennett Whitman. If that's okay." Rachel looked at Daniel, startled but not surprised. He had tears in his eyes. "I thought you'd never ask," he said softly. The adoption papers were filed within the week. The headlines read, "Billionaire adopts girl from cafe he stumbled into during storm." But to them it was never about charity or spectacle. It was simply the natural result of love found in unlikely places. 1 month later, Daniel made another decision. At the annual Whitman Technologies shareholders meeting, he stood at the podium, loosened his tie, and said clearly, "I am stepping down as CEO." Gasps echoed across the room. "I'm not leaving because I've lost passion. I'm leaving because I found purpose." That night back at Lily's cafe, he made another announcement. "We're opening a second location," he said, "in a neighborhood where another Lily's waiting, and another Rachel needs a second chance." Rachel's eyes sparkled. "So we're building something?" "No," he said, "we're rebuilding someone, 1 cup of coffee at a time." 3 years later, Lily's Cafe had grown into a quiet phenomenon. 5 shops across Oregon, each managed by families who had once needed help, now empowered and proud. But the original cafe remained the heart. And Lily. At 12, she spoke fluent French and Spanish, managed inventory like a pro, and still remembered every customer's usual order. She kept her father's ledger and her mother's recipes. She was both the heart and the hands behind the counter. But she never let success change her. She still greeted every guest with a smile, still believed that coffee, when made with love, could heal. One spring morning, a man stepped in drenched from an unexpected downpour. His suit clung to his back. His eyes were clouded with worry. "Can I stay here a while?" he asked. Lily didn't blink. "Of course, you look like someone who needs something strong, but not bitter." He smiled, startled. She returned with a coffee black with just a drop of cream and a sprinkle of cinnamon. "How did you—" "Coffee tells the truth," she said, then leaned in. "You remind me of someone who walked in one rainy day and forgot how lost he was until he tasted something real." From his table, Daniel smiled. The magic was continuing just as it was meant to. He raised his cup toward Rachel, who now ran the cafe like a conductor guiding an orchestra. "To miracles," he said. Rachel clinked her mug gently against his, and to the girl who made them possible. In the quiet hum of that ordinary day, they were anything but ordinary. They were a family that had chosen each other, and that choice above all had saved them. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever found healing in the most unexpected place? Would you believe that a simple cup of coffee can carry the power to change everything? So what do you think of this story, if you loved it? Comment number 3 below. If it felt just okay, choose number 2. And if you're not satisfied, comment number 1. We want to know how to tell better stories that move you. Also tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to know how far this story has traveled. And don't forget to tap that heart and share this video with someone who still believes in everyday miracles.